All right. Well, first of all, just want to say congratulations on navigating the independent music world for 21 years.
Thank you.
What
Thank
do
you.
you credit for your longevity and continued drive?
The love for what I do. I think I naturally have enjoyment in discovery and in creativity. So, for me, I wake up with ideas in my head, uh, and it doesn't get old. I think I've worked a long time to feel like this studio feels like the first time every time I walk in it. So there's never really a dread of like, go in and do work. It's more of like, let's see what we're gonna find today. And um, I really do enjoy it. I think that's one of the main reasons why I still do it.
Cool. So I'm from New Jersey. I know you are too. And we know that some of music's biggest legends are from our home state.
Yes.
Can you tell me how being from New Jersey may have influenced you?
The one thing that why in New Jersey really influenced me was that one, we were so close to New York, but yet we were distant enough to get inspired by like the birth of hip hop, but yet still can develop our own here. Of course, gospel music is deeply rooted here. Church is very heavy, but then house music. I mean, it was just so many different genres of music I was educated on that it wasn't really just one tight knit, culture. We would sing in choir rehearsal all week. We sing at church all Sunday, but Friday we were at the club dancing to house music. And Saturday we might be home, playing hip hop because it wasn't really playing in the clubs growing up like that. And then my dad would just come home with whatever band was popular or hot at the time, whether it was a black band or a rock band or whatever. So I would say the one thing about New Jersey is that, and I grew up in North Jersey, but just the culture of everything was just. I remember when I was like deciding to try to create something and do music. It took me a minute to say, well, what do I do with all the things I love? Like, man, I really like Commission. I really like Tribe Called Quest and the Jungle Brothers, but I also really like Stevie Wonder, and it's like, but I also like Police and Sade. So like, and it was like, do all of it. We love all of it, and I think New Jersey is very unapologetic that way. When you look at a lot of, I mean, just look at Redman to Whitney Houston to Queen Latifah or even Lauryn Hill or the Fugees. To me, it's like they're very unique, each one, because it's like it's close enough to kind of inspire from the culture of New York or Philadelphia, or whatever, but distant enough that you can kind of make it your own.
I love that. And New Jersey, of course, is just unapologetic in general.
Across the board, you're absolutely right.
Right.
You're right.
So, and you're also a proud HBCU alum. So, I'd love to know what you got from Howard that continues to inspire and encourage you.
I mean, one, the friendships I got from the first day I walked on campus, the guys I'm talking to through text message and, uncles to their kids and, collaborating. There's people on this album right now that I went to school with. Chris Dave played drums on about, I think, four songs, and we came in together. Dwayne Bassiani, I met him freshman year when I was walking in with a keyboard under my arm, and we're still, still working together. So, it's just it's been a blessing. But also, Howard, so much amazement in the classrooms, in the hallways, but the magic was the community, the dorm rooms, like what we would talk about our dreams and chasing after stuff and learning how to hustle, was really important and impactful. Like I came in there a kid, I left a man, from Howard, and carried a lot of great memories from that.
So, you've been behind the scenes of some of our favorite artists. Tell me about some of the work you've done throughout the years for other people.
Man, I've been fortunate to work with uh, so many people that the blessing of it also is like there's so many people who I met them when it was just a dream, and I had the fortunate opportunity of seeing their dreams come true. I remember when Jill Scott walked in to a touch of jazz for the first time. I remember us walking to the pizza store, sharing our dreams, and I'm honored and proud to witness that, witness and contribute to some degree. And the same thing with Music Soul Child and Dwelle and Vivian Green, to be able to work with them, but also just share in their process to get towards their dreams, as well as work with some of my heroes. I mean, I'm a huge Will Downing fan, a huge Fred Hammond fan, a huge Charlie Wilson fan, and to be able to work with them is crazy. To know that I wrote a song for one of them, or that sometime once in a while they may call the phone. I go like, "Will Downing's calling me. This doesn't make any sense. This is crazy," you know. So I mean, before I was putting out my albums, I was a songwriter producer for, and I was trying to get my songs out there and be heard, and I think a lot of that really paid off in working with a lot of great people who are really the foundation of the music we're doing right now.
You can definitely hear the Will Downing influence in your work.
Oh
So I
yeah,
think that had to be a full circle thing to be able to do something for him.
yeah. Another Jersey cat too. So that's really
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah. But, represent right.
Yeah.
So, all right, I went to your one of, because I know you did many sold out city winery shows in DC last year. And I was at one of them, and you took a little time during the performance of lessons to talk about some of the industry lessons you learned.
Mhm.
And you mentioned how you initially felt like you were left out of the neo soul movement in Philly. Then tell me a little bit how that felt and how you rounded the corner to realizing there was something else for you.
Well, to even go into to that a little further, during that time, during the Philly explosion of the late '90s, early 2000s, which I'm proud to say I was a part of that, as as a contributor in writing. But at the time, I was really working very hard for everyone to know me as Eric Roberson, the songwriter. So all those labels, all the A&Rs, all the presidents of the labels that came down and signed everyone, they knew me as Eric Roberson, the songwriter. And even though I was doing my artist stuff and really trying to present that at that time, I was easily overlooked because I wasn't presenting myself the way I really wanted to be seen. That's the first thing I had to learn. So I couldn't even blame anybody but myself or really look at anybody else's situation. I had to say, okay, let me improve my situation. I need to make sure that you see me as an artist, not just as a songwriter. My problem was I was presenting myself as a songwriter, not as an artist. And the lesson learned in that is like you have to meet success where it will see you at. You have to meet love where it will see you at. You have to meet peace where it will see you at. And from that point on, I kind of started working on that. Um, those times were incredible. I think the artist I am, it comes from, the writing and the collaboration and development I had while working in Philadelphia. But I also knew I had to shape myself to be seen as the artist that I wanted to be. And the great thing also was that, sure, I was kind of overlooked by the labels that kind of came in and swooped everybody up. But for the truth be told, it worked out for the better. It's kind of, even when we talk about lessons, it's like I didn't know that at the time. At the time, sure, I was like, man, why are these labels not looking at me either? But there was a bigger picture for me, and that wasn't my journey. And that I put out something independently and would have more creative control over what I do for the next 20 something years is really the true blessing for me. So I'm happy it worked out the way it did.
Right. So 17 albums. How does one independently create so many projects? And what's the experience like?
Recognizing when you have something. I'm always writing, and I mean, when you think of 17 albums in 21 years, it sounds a bit crazy, and it is crazy. But it usually, I'm always writing, and then you stumble across something special. I couldn't hear me over the music, a pretty girl, softest lips, dealing, and you go, well, where am I right now? And really, the album is really a snapshot of the musical period I'm in that moment. And for example, Music Fan First was very much all my dreams came true, but the obligation of fulfilling all this was a lot. It was getting a lot to handle, and that was me stepping back from the obligation of it and falling in love with music again, just in general, realizing I'm a fan of it first. And that's where I was at the time when I made that album. Uh, Lessons is very much reflective. I've been very head down, work, 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 tour, record. And I think in my life now, I'm taking a little bit of time to kind of sit back and go, man, we kind of did this. Wow. I mean, honestly, my publicist had to tell me I had 17 albums. If somebody asked me, I wouldn't even been able to tell them. I was like, how many albums you got? I don't know. How many do I have? Because it wasn't a concern of mine. It was like the concern of mine was just completion and get this idea out of my head and fulfill my heart, take my breath away, and share it so it might take your breath away. It was my only concern. And now I'm kind of sitting back going, wow, look at that lesson I learned from that point. And that's the snapshot of this period in this album right now. And I think why it's kind of speaking to so many people right now.
So you invite your dedicated fans in on the inner workings of your music. How important is the process to your success and even growth as a musician?
It's how I do music going forward, how I've been doing music for the last 6 or 7 years now. I have a group of people on a Patreon page who follow me. Every idea I make, they get a copy of. Every video shoot we make, as we're directing it and editing it, they get a copy of it. I want them to see the process of an idea going from an idea to a complete tangible object. And the beautiful thing that really helps me is that I get a chance to learn what works immediately. So if you're in the studio, if you're watching, if you're getting a copy of it, and if the reaction is elaborate, then I know I have something. But if they kind of move on and go, okay, this probably needs some more word. And I will tell you that what we'll do usually, even the major labels, you'll put an album out and then you find out what works. Oh, I thought number song 5 was gonna kill. Oh, that's a miss, you know. Or song number 10, I didn't think nothing of it. Now everybody's singing it. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, let's change. For me, as I'm working on it and sharing it, I'm seeing right there, like, oh, this song is special. For me, I remove myself from trying to judge how special a song is. I mean, love a song. I mean, put a marketing plan behind it, but it's really your job to decide if a song's special, you know? And having the process gives me insight on what's special out of the assembly line. I don't even say assembly line because everything's different. Out of the chain of creativity that I'm going through, every once in a while they pick something and go, this one right here, woo, and I go, oh, really, that one right there? Okay, let's amplify that one, and it works that way.
I mean, as a writer, you sometimes know when you got something, and I get you're talking about the reception of it. So when you were working on lessons, were you working on it and going, oh, yeah, that's the one right here? Or did this really surprise you?
No, I'll tell you, man. I mean, I've been writing songs for a long, long time, 30 plus years now, getting close to 40 years of just literally writing songs. And what I've learned, there's been times where I thought this song is gonna pay off the house. I'm gonna go buy me a Bentley off this one. This is the one, and it didn't get the reaction I thought it was gonna get. And then there's some songs where it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You about to go to sleep. You have sleep, and you just sit at the keyboard for a second and just make some little small, really small idea, and that's the one that everyone goes crazy. So it changes. I don't know. I do. As I said, I'm at a point now. I may love a song. If I don't love it, you don't even get a chance to even get close to hearing it, right? So, but I'm also at the point of realizing that I'm gonna love everything I do, but how the response is really what's gonna work. I will admit that I don't know what works, and truth be told, every great that we know, from Prince to Quincy Jones to the head of Sony, the head of Warner Brothers, they don't know either. That's why so many things tank. It's like because we're taking shots at certain things, and we don't know what's actually going to connect with you, draw your attention. In all honesty, when I did lessons, when I was recording it, I filmed it at the same time, and of course I posted it, and it did what it did. It was a big reaction. But that night I don't know if I went to bed going, oh my God, I got one. This is going to change my life. I went to bed more going, that hook might be a little harsh. I might need to change that tomorrow. Because the line, now I realize everyone that let me down led me to you. Beautiful line to who I'm saying it to, but it feels like it might sting a little bit to who may interpret that they let me down. Am I taking a shot at my ex girlfriends? I didn't mean it that way or whatever, because I let myself down or whatever. But that was my thought. My thought was more worrisome. Like I was like, is that song kind of stinging a little bit? And then when I woke up, everybody was like, oh my God, this is my song. You know, I was like, oh, okay, it's not stinging. Great. All right. Once again, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm writing something very honest from my heart. And then when the product aspect comes in, you know, and I'm listening to it going, what about that line? What about this line? You know, and there's a level of doubt that sets in. Is that going to relate to people? And thankfully, I still shared it and didn't change it and didn't paint over it or write over it or anything of that nature, and allowed it to be what it was going to be. And that's the magic of it. You know,
Yeah.
I try not to overjudge it.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm gonna tell you, my husband, huge fan. I swear every 20 seconds he's randomly saying, now I realize. So you got it with that one. And as I guess, as not the person who let him down, it feels good. So
I get it. I get it. I get it. And guess what? We need those letdowns to get to where we are. And I pray that everyone that I had a relationship with before, that they're in a better place from whatever I might have let them down. You know what I mean? And things of that nature. Like hopefully we're all in a better place from it. You
oh,
know?
that's nice. I don't think everybody
And,
feels that
and
way.
it's not even, you know, I think I'm in the best place I could be in. What I would tell you is I'm happy with the place I'm in
Mhm.
through all the brick walls, through all the ups and downs, and that's what you kind of wish for everybody.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I don't know if everybody feels that way about exes,
Yeah.
but I think that's such a positive stance.
Yeah.
So you've been tapped a few times to do tributes to musical legends. What are your initial thoughts when you get a call like you're going to be on a Smokey Robinson tribute or a Whispers tribute?
That I get a chance to honor my heroes. You know, Smokey was part of the soundtrack of my childhood, and to know that I have a chance to sing one of his songs while he's looking and listening and paying attention is just it really intimidating, but it's also a great opportunity to just pay homage. You know, the Whispers have been absolutely incredible, and once again, another fabric to my life and music. And any moment to tell you, hey, do you see the equipment I have? Do you see the songs I have? Thank you. You know, you're a part of the reason why I do this, a part of the reason why I pick a pen up, the part of the reason why even last night at 3 o'clock in the morning I was recording, even when I needed to go to sleep. It's like because I love it, and I fell in love with it off of what you did first, before I even knew what creativity was. So I think it's part of our job, and I'm really honored when I am thought of to kind of pay homage to the people that came before me.
Hey, Jimmy Fallon's That's My Jam. Renewed for a second season. Will we see you in the bandstand again?
Yeah. We actually are shooting soon. In about a month and a half from now, we'll be shooting again, and I think it's really exciting. I'm curious like where it's gonna go and grow from here, but it's a lot of fun, man. And my brother Alvin Blackstone, who's the musical director of it, it's just always great to see his process. The real magic to me was watching Jimmy Fallon and just his production mind, watching him shape that show uh, during those rehearsals was probably what I took away from it, and what I'll be applying if I haven't already applied to my business. Like sure, the check and all that stuff and the exposure, that's great. What I really learned from it was like watching him on the off hours where he was kind of like mapping out how this show is going to be seen, and that was really powerful and impactful.
That show is absolutely hilarious. And as I watch it, I'm like, who sat here and thought about this? And how does this work? I can't stop watching it. And
Yeah,
just love how you and Jade Nova are singing and everything is so fun and silly.
yeah, and there's some great writers. I met the huge production and staff, and how they all came together. But it was really great. I mean, I'm a fan of production, so like when we weren't shooting in the little off hours, I was walking back to the camera studio just trying to see like I was blown away how many cameras were in there and the set design and how fast they put that set up, and as fast when we shot the last episode they broke it all down and they probably about to build it all back up again. So it was just really cool to watch that, and real happy that it came together.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited for season two.
Good.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Um, One thing I really admire is that you always uplift your family. They're listed as a major highlight on your bio.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to celebrate your wife and children as it relates to your career?
because it's a part of me. It's like I have no problem showing myself, and I want people to know who I am. I have nothing really to hide. It's like this is who I am. This is what I love, and I wouldn't be here without my parents, without their support, my sister's support, and as well as I wouldn't be able to do this without my wife's support. Like and she's my life as well as my business has only improved from the moment I met her, and my kids helped me understand priorities and balance. So I became a better person when I got kids. You know what I mean? And I think the goal always is to kind of strive and share as much as I share my songs, because any news, anything that can make me a better father from what I see with other fathers or parents, or in general, I'm constantly trying to grab that. I'm constantly trying to learn that and apply it to what I'm having. And when something works for me, I'm trying to share that too. So um, I'm always trying to showcase them because I always want them around. Yeah.
Oh. And I love how you mentioned balance. You do a lot and
Yeah.
somehow found a way to add in teaching at Berklee College of Music.
Yeah.
What are some things on your syllabus? How do your students receive you?
So I teach a business class, and it's interesting because last semester we really pivoted a lot because I had a different epiphany. Like I started running into a lot of. I noticed that I'm in this business class, and sure we're supposed to talk about publishing deals and copyrights and pro services and all stuff like that. But when I would bring up doubt, everyone would sit up. Right? It's like when I would say, "So, how do you deal with doubt?" They would all go, and I'd be like, so we're not talking about this anywhere else. Like, let's talk about it. So instead of like talking about it for half a class, I talked about it for like 3 weeks. Because if you can't get past doubt, you can't even work on business. You can't even get, and working on like really believing in yourself and believing in your product and how do you stand behind your music is part of it. And sure, we work on copyrights and copyright infringements and networking and sync deals and all that stuff like that. But I need to know that when you press play, you're showing people that you love it. You're showing people that it moves you so that it can move them. That's part of business, That's part of business. And I think the first thing that they need to learn is that most of them, like me, they can put their head down and work on music for 20 hours. And I tell all of them, for every 6 hours of music, you owe me 3 hours of business
Mhm.
you know so you got to put that time in on the other side of it and use the same creative mind you had to make that chord progression, to make that marketing plan, to make that whole Instagram or TikTok approach, or a radio campaign, or a tour schedule. Unlocking that creativity and trusting that process the same way you trust your songwriting process. So that's a lot of probably where I kind of pivoted. Now I've taught songwriting classes as well, and things similar. But I've over the last couple of years I've leaned more towards the business and development side.
Would you say that was an early thing that you'd done with your career?
No, I mean I probably had to learn it. I mean I'll say that it's been a long time now, and once again I when I met somebody who was very prolific or very productive, I would sit and observe. And I've had the fortunate opportunity to watch some of the greatest music creators and watch them create and watch how it worked and how it didn't work. I'll tell you, I lived in Atlanta for a very short period of time, and I probably maybe only had a conversation with Jermaine Dupri one time, but in the time of living in Atlanta and just observing him, being at the church or being at the club or being at the sneaker shop or being at the basketball game, but yet still being able to turn out all this music, and then knowing Brian Michael Cox and Jagged Edge and all these guys who were working with him and picking those stories up, I saw that man he was a studio rat, but he was very much like when he had an idea, it was like get it done. He locked in, so he could do all that stuff. I was like, I remember go to the mall, and he's there like, wow, he's everywhere. Like when is he doing music? But it's like when he locks in, he locked in, and that was a valuable lesson. So imagine the people I actually was in the studio with, like a Fred Hammond, for a substantial amount of time. There's so much to learn, and I just tried to apply all those things so that I could be more prolific and focused. I learned very early the most important word in this business is completion. So at that point, I had to start learning how I could take on the attitude of completion, in all the things I do, so that I could be more prolific and stuff. So it wasn't something I was born with. I definitely wrestled with doubt just as much as anybody else. But my goal is to grow old doing music. So how do you get rid of doubt? How do you focus on completion? And I started working on those things. And now that I have a better handle on it, I try to share that information.
Oh, that's great. Definitely have to pay that forward. So you talked about being in the studio with people. I asked Fonte this, which means I have to ask you this. Will you two come together for another full project?
Of course, of course. Yeah,
Plans?
I
Is it
mean,
happening?
well, I remember right before the pandemic, we were talking about getting started on Ticklero, and then Little Brother reunited,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of stopped, anything else he's working on. And understand that his first thing, and I first thing I knew of Fonte was Little Brother, so I was holding the flag. I was like, "Yo, do that." I'm happy. I want to hear Little Brother album. Like this like gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. So that kind of put Ticklero on pause. But that's my brother, man. Like, whenever he says go, I'll be ready. I mean, we'll roll our sleeves up and start collaborating again. And we had a great time. It couldn't have been any crazier time when we did the first album. So I'm looking forward to doing the second album in a more peaceful, timely manner. But yeah, it's definitely gonna happen. I mean, listen, he's a genius, man. I love working with him, so it's definitely gonna happen soon.
He did tell me what you both had going on in your lives during their first album.
Yeah.
And I will say this, maybe you two need to talk. He said, whenever Arrow says, let's go, we're gonna do this. You just said whenever he says so.
So we're
I
both
need
saying the same thing.
yeah.
I think it's a little bit more. I think
Hmm.
it's a little bit more of when he says let's go, but I'll leave it up to that. We both had to say
Okay.
let's go. I'm saying let's go now.
Mhm. Okay.
You know what I mean? But we'll see how that works. But either way, when it does happen, I'll be really excited and it's gonna be great.
All right. Well, I might have to get in between and make sure that y'all know that y'all said the same thing. So, who is someone you haven't had a chance to work with that you think will be an ideal collaboration?
Erica Badu.
Oh.
She's always top of my list. And even once again, it's not even for me, I study so many people. I mean, I would love to write a song with her and love to sing with her, but I would just want to see how she creates. I just want to, out of people I haven't collaborated with or I really haven't had a chance to pick her mind, I would just like, okay, what were you thinking when you wrote Bag Lady? Like, I need to know like the process of how you put that together. A window seat. That's probably selfishly before I even like try to write a song with her, I would have 50,000 questions or just want to be a fly on the wall. Like I just want to see what happens first or how you hear how did you hear that melody and stuff like that. She'll be on the top of my list, but I mean the list is endless. Her, Emily King, uh, there's so many people that I haven't worked with that I would just love to kind of pick their brain. Stevie Wonder, obviously, I mean,
Mhm.
just goodness gracious, I would just be a fly on the wall, you know.
Yeah. And you know how this goes. You say their names and put it out into the world, and then we cross our fingers and hope they read it or hear it and they call you.
Listen, I owe you a steak. If Erica Badu calls me, I'm getting you the biggest steak you want. So
That's funny. Well,
all
let me see
good.
what I can do then. So, okay, where is a good place to start if people are just getting around to checking out your work? My personal suggestion is a live show, but what would you say?
A live show doesn't hurt. I think you can really get an understanding of my love for performance and love for theater and how theater shows up even in the albums. Or you can start. I'm proud of all the albums. I think Lessons. Hey, it's out right now, so that's probably the one I would say go to, and then you can kind of work backwards, like maybe see where we are, and kind of listen to see where we've been. Might be kind of nice, but I just say find it. Wherever you can, take a listen, come to a show, check out a video. I'm really proud of the effort that me and the team, we put to all the things we do. I think I'm really proud of the quality of the work we've been able to do. 17 albums but it's not by no means a lack of quality, you know. And so wherever they want to start, they can start with album one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, whichever one. But I say just jump in. You're never late, you know. So when you get a chance, listen to something.
How will you celebrate Black Music Month?
Hmm. Uh, Through touring a little bit, we'll be shooting. I believe that's my jam, but paying homage to the creators that influenced me. Make sure that I sow into the to the big brothers of mine in this business and big sisters of mine in this business as well. But that's the main thing, man. I mean, it's the foundation that I stand on and I create, and I'm constantly trying to pay homage to them through my music. So we have this album called Lessons. So I think one of the things that we could do, even from a promotion standpoint, is just kind of show the lessons that I learned from Stevie Wonder, that I learned from Al Green, that I learned from Roberta Flack, that I learned from Shaka Khan, and how I apply it to my life and to my music.
Ooh, that marketing mind was going. You just created a whole
Yeah,
campaign right there using
yeah,
lessons. Look at
yeah.
that.
Makes sense.
Get them
Makes
on the
sense.
phone. So, what's on your playlist? Doesn't have to be current. Just what are you listening to?
That's a great question, man. I've been really heavy in the creative mode of writing, so I haven't had much time to listen as much. Of course, cause I'm always zoning and dissecting. If I pull out my playlist right this very second, my phone is near me. Let's see. And I listen to all genres, so a lot of times it goes back to what I was going through, and that's funny. We did a little trip to North Carolina, and while doing that, I was playing some of my top 10 favorite songs of all time. So maybe more of a playlist in that way because I might be looking more for feeling. And if I just, this, oh, okay. Tom Waits, George Duke. This is like just what I just listened to. Bill Withers, Nina Simone, Brian Blades Fellowship, Wawa Watson, and Lucius. Oh man, there's a group called Lucius. And yeah, that's what that we were driving 7 hours, and I was and Prince, uh, Prince Adore, goodness
Oh
gracious.
yeah.
So I mean, I'll have that's the last phase, but at the same time, I might be listening to Javion and her and Summer Walker or Earl Sweatshirt, Earl Sweatshirt, you know what I mean, or whatever. I listen to everything, but on the drive, I think we started having a conversation about what's my top 10 favorite songs, and so I started running them off, and that's kind of what's in the playlist right now.
So, what's the Bill Withers song?
Hello Like Before.
Hmm.
Oh, goodness gracious. Just a hello like before. I wouldn't have come here if I'd known that you were here. I must admit though that it's nice to see you, dear. You look like you've been doing well. I mean, it's just a gorgeous record. Even though Grandma's Hands, Lean on Me, Same Love That Made Me Laugh, Made Me Cry. I mean, these are could easily be in my top 10, but if I had to pick one Bill Withers song, it's Hello Like Before. It's just as perfect, and it takes me somewhere, and that's probably a lot of times what makes my top 10. George Duke has a song called Someday, arguably might be my favorite song of all time, and when I hear it, it takes me somewhere. So my top 10 kind of consists of those types of songs.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's really interesting as a songwriter that you're picking some of these album cuts, right? And these people have remarkable Billboard records, but these album
Yeah,
cuts just kind of really do something for you as a songwriter.
yeah, I think I'm more, and it probably maybe even for me writing, I get more enjoyment out of writing as well as listening to the more transparent songs, the more vulnerable songs that may not kind of try to go for a bigger grab, but yet tell a different story. I'm constantly like, what I would tell you is that I'm constantly listening. When I get an album, the first thing I'm listening to is I'm listening for the song I wish I wrote. The best compliment you can give me is, "Oh my God, I wish I wrote that." Right? When I wrote Lessons, and I remember when talking to Anthony Hamilton, he was like, I knew exactly what that meant. He was like, man, I wish I wrote that joint. I wish I, oh man, you got that. And just the whole perspective of where it went, I'm constantly trying to find that, and I constantly find that on albums. I listen to an Avery Sunshine album or Raheem Devine album, and you hear the song, you go like, oh my god, how did they think of that? That's crazy. And I'm like, that's what I live for. So I'm constantly collecting the list of songs I wish I wrote, and that's I got playlists on playlists of that. And it's not sometimes it's, sometimes it's um I wish or, or uh, Love and Happiness Al Green. More than likely it's something a little bit deeper. My favorite Stevie Wonder song is Blame It on the Sun, and it's just a beautiful, transparent record. And I know he has bigger records. I love Sir Duke, and I can run off all those. But like if you ask me, I can only listen to one Stevie Wonder song. Like, put "Blame It on the Sun" on. Like, I want to hear that. You
Okay,
know.
I'm with you on that. My favorite Stevie Wonder album is Intervisions, and I'm like, I
Yes.
know y'all love songs in the key of life, but this is the
Yes.
one. So definitely.
I just had a conversation of say, and mind you, I want to say Intervision is my favorite Stevie album, and I understand it's not his best album. The same way as like Parade is my favorite Prince album, but I don't think it's his best album. Like
Right,
Purple
right.
Rain is his best album. Sign of the Times is his second best album. Parade is by far my favorite album. You know, and I understand that. I understand exactly what that means, and I probably could do the same thing with Sade and Bill
Hmm.
Withers and Al Green. I mean, I could run Marvin Gaye. Because it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
about the attachment that you might have, the connection you might have with it.
I think you realize that they don't get that best album without that. It's steps to it.
Yes,
So you don't get songs in the key of life. You don't
without
get there.
that's
But
right.
yeah, I definitely agree with you. Same thing when you're talking about Marvin Gaye. Oh,
Look at
okay.
George Duke just having a come on, George
It's
Duke. They're just gonna blast on my phone.
funny. Same thing, I think, with Marvin Gaye. You don't get to a what's going on without, it's kind of building phase. So I see where you're saying as a songwriter, you don't get there.
I love that comparison. That makes so much sense. Yeah, yeah. You have to have those other albums, and guess what? You can easily fall in love with that album that got us to this other album.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah. I like that.
Well, cool. I mean, I think if you're thinking that way, then album 18 is probably really gonna blow us away.
Let's go. Let's go. Uh,
So I really thank you for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule with so many
uh,
things going on to talk
uh,
to me about Black Music Month and everything that you've done and what you got going on.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. You tell your husband safe travels back home, and look forward to seeing you guys at a show real soon.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.